Stand by for the broadcast. Today is July 3rd, 2018. Get ready for the Emerging Sea broadcast system, the Forbidden History series, what they didn't want you to know, but we tell right here. Because somebody has to do it, ladies and gentlemen. Do tell your friends. After all, you wanted to know, didn't you? Please note that the following views and the opinions expressed on this program are not necessarily the views nor the opinions of the Master Force Group, YouTube.com, Free America Radio Network, our sponsors, our partners, and MFG is a private society. Nothing here is ever to be construed as medical nor legal advice. And listen to the Forbidden History prime time 7 days a week right here on the realpublicradio.net, because hidden beneath the sands of time lies the greatest of all mysteries. It's the Forbidden History. Unearth for yourself the secret truths that lie hidden just beneath the surface below our feet. What is it that the powers that be do not want you or I to know? Come and journey with us as we explore and dare to know, because it's all right here, coming your way, twice a day, 7 days a week, on the realpublicradio.net, Free America Radio Network. What they didn't want you to know, but we tell right here, every morning at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, every evening at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. The Forbidden History series, the great lies of I don't even know my own programs now. The great lies. Yeah, that's right. You know what I mean. They're lying. Okay, and the Pirate Sea of Words, the great lies of history. There you go. And hello there to Leah. I think I've seen you here for the first time, so welcome aboard. And the Pirate Sea of Words and symbolism. We've got some symbolism today, and just a whole lot more. Okay, so glad to have you. And I got a lot of stuff to knock out, and I'm going to try to go real fast because I know everybody's time is precious. Therefore, I've got to find my rhythm here, but I'm getting better at this. Okay, if you haven't noticed. Hey there, Diane, up from UK, and Lynn. Good morning to you. And I didn't even open my program yet. Coming to you live from Studio Z at the Lighthouse in Central Ohio, and Free America Radio Network in the land of dreams, enchantments, and nightmares. Yes, that's right, nightmares. It's the Forbidden History series morning program, The History of the Church by Eusebius, and the original gospel, a morning read, okay? And with a little bit of commentary that always goes along for the ride, as if you haven't noticed, right? And I'm your host, Desert Owl, a bird who sees in the night, and I see too much, and I'm still looking for that proverbial blue pill. I want to take the blue pill. I just want to forget. Okay, I didn't know it was going to be this bad. All right, I thought maybe we would have rolled up our sleeves, gone to Washington, throw the bums out, and then get back with our normal lives. And then I learned the rest of the story. That we have been lied to from the beginning. And it's easier to lie to people apparently than it is to convince them that they've been lied to. That's the greatest irony of all time. But they got that software program in them, and they're just like, that does not compute. That does not compute. I only have one operating system. I have been pre-programmed, and so it's pretty sad. But it's really great to. Hey there, Diane. I thought I said good morning already. Oh yeah, you're just saying it back. Okay, that's right. And so yeah, so they need to break the hardware that they've got going. No, they can't break the hardware. They won't be here anymore. But the software that's going on in their brain, we gotta unplug them and then reboot them. You know what I mean? Or boot them out of here, one or the other, because they're just a liability. And good morning to Anna out there in Finland, and hope everybody's doing okay this morning. Hope Lynn's I believe it's her brother-in-law is doing well. I know it's a tough world. I don't know the details, but we've all been asking the Heavenly Father to ease the pain and to work miracles as best as would be provided. It's all a great mystery. There's things that are in our control and things that are not in our control. And so we'll talk about the duality revealed in the patterns of pictures. Okay, I've got a rather interesting segment in the opener that I'm going to share with you in this duality. That's what I'm going to do right now, in fact, because, it's the continuing discussion on how that which is false has taken over that which is true. How that which is false has taken over that which is true. It can't be, right? Is Yahweh that weak, and Yeshua, when all power was given unto him, did the occult, did they really beat him up and throw him out, or was this part of the plan all along, that Yahweh and the great Elohim knew, Yeshua knew, that this was the only way to preserve the baby? Okay, that goes back to the story of Solomon, a pinnacle story with Solomon, because he said, take the baby and cut it in half, right? Come on, give me a break. He actually said that to, either one mother, knowing one is the real mother, and he says, I'm going to cut the baby in half and deal with it. So you got to see the symbolism there. It is profound. And now we've got one with Judah and Tamar, okay? Because we're going to find out that whoredom plays a role in the evolution of this process of coming to the regeneration of man. That in other words, it's an expression that we were all in the ditch. We're all in, everything's in the ditch, and it has to come out of the ditch. And so it takes the enlightened mind to come out of the ditch. And so we're receiving confirmation, that it doesn't matter how bad it was for you. Okay, there's nobody can say, well, I can't go because I've done this, I've done that. The whole scripture is showing us it doesn't matter, whatever you've done. Hey, anybody can come back. Okay, turn around. And so we're given ample evidence of the grace of the Father above. So I'm gonna, rather than try to give the oral version off the top of my head on the story of Judah, I thought I would do it right out of Farrar Fenton, and you get a chance to hear some more of Farrar Fenton, the most important translation of the scriptures in modern time. But then I more accurately convey the story, because we're gonna. I think you might remember the story of Judah and Tamar. Tamar is his daughter, right? And you may remember what happened. So for those who may have missed this part, then we'll get it for everybody, okay? But Judah, of course, he represents the tribe of Judah, which represents therefore the lineage of Yeshua. And thank you, Desert. He's in end stage COPS. My sister needs much light created. Certainly, we'll keep that up. Okay. I don't know what COPS is, but I'm assuming it has something to do with cancer. Okay, so here we go. In chapter 38, you're welcome to follow along in your scriptures in the book of Bereshith, which we call Genesis, chapter 38. About the same time, Judah went and separated from his brothers and joined, and that's of course after he sold out one of his brothers as well, right? This was, I believe, after Yosef was already sold into Egypt, Mitzrayim, and he separated from his brothers, and this whole thing about separation is rather interesting because it creates a symbolism again of having separated. Judah, the tribe of Judah, separated from Israel, right? So here we have an archetypal prediction of what was to come in the future. Okay, he separates from his brothers. Rather interesting. And what happens? What happens? Because whoredom also belonged to Judah. I'm just reading that this morning in 2 Kings and yesterday, that even Judah finally, collapsed, because Judah wasn't any better really than Israel, which was annihilated 100 years earlier. Then finally, with Nebuchadnezzar in Babylon, Judah's taken down. So Israel in 730 BC, and then Judah is taken down finally in like 550 BC. So it's 200 years later. So they all sold out, Okay, and in fact, I just learned this morning in my read that the temple of Yahweh was actually made into a den of prostitution for the Baal tradition. Okay, and they made curtains in there for the other sanctuaries that they were making with the pillars. So literally they made a a sweatshop out of the temple of Yahweh. So go figure, right? Go figure that he did that. So yeah, it's an amazing story, but it's telling us about the fall of the world because, as you know, we were talking, Israel was no special. Okay, they weren't special people. They were just chosen. They were actually fortunate that they were chosen, but then they were rejected because they didn't live up to the standard. Only individuals in any society could live up, but the whole society never. We know that whichever way the crowd is going, you go the other way, right? The crowd's all going that way. Hey, I'm going this way. I'm not going with the crowd because the crowd is always wrong, and typically the crowd is always led by some secret agent that's got his prime orders, and then when everybody goes to jail, he gets out the back door. It's all this world's a charade. Okay, so now we got the primer. Judah separated from his brothers and joined with an Adulamite whose title or name was Hira. Well, there he saw the daughter of a Canaanite whose name was Beth Shua. And there's Yeshua's name right there. And Beth means the first. So it means the first Shua. So now it's creating a metaphor for that which came first, which was the light of truth. Then the light was put out by Cain in the symbolism. And he took her and married her. And she conceived and bore a son and called his name Ar. And then she conceived again and bore a son and called his name Onan. R stands for power, and Onan is a derivative of the true harvest. Also, the Onun, you can change it into Onun, and it would imply a true and perfect harvest. So, and that's what this is all about, building up the perfect harvest, right? And she afterwards increased and bore a son and called his name Shelah. So there's Shelah, which would really have a silent T at the end of it. Shelah means the healing root. The healing root. Okay, you go to the store, you can buy some shallots, right? Those are they look like onions, but they're different, and it's a healing root. So and so there's very symbolic right here. And then she ceased to bear child. So she brought forth the healing root, and it came last. See, out of the three, in the beginning was the power, then in the middle we got the perfect harvest, and at the end we get the healing root. And that's what Yeshua was at the end, the healing root that healed the sickness of mankind, not just the physical sicknesses, but mankind, to bring him around to the ability to have eternal life. So she ceased to be bearing child. All symbolic here. And this is how we got to read it, friends, okay? Because I know that very often people, they just read the stories, but they never interpret the words or the symbolism. And that's what we have to do. That's where we're going to get the message. The message is in the underlying thread, okay? When Judah took his wife for his eldest son, Ar, and I know these names may be variable in our other scriptures, so I'm not comparing them. I don't know, but I know that Fenton, he's got it. He's right on most every time, beyond what others are, had done, because they were propagandistic, they were political documents, they were, to deflect us from the true light, because the occult loved the darkness, so they wanted to keep us in the dark. So Judah took a wife for his eldest son, Ar, and her name was Thamar, Thamar here, and I think it's Tamar in the other scriptures, but it's Thamar. But Ar, Judah's eldest son, was wicked in the presence of Yahweh, and so Yahweh caused him to die. So Judah consequently said to Onan, and so the first power dies. That's the symbolism. The first power died. That's like Cain killing his brother Abel again. And so Judah consequently said to Onan, marry the wife of your brother. And he raised up to be raising up an heir for your brother. But Onan knew that the heir would not be his own. And therefore, when he approached his brother's wife, he ejected on the ground instead of giving the seed to his brother. I mean, no comment. So I just see the ridiculous nature of it. Why not plant the seed and have a harvest of of a life, than planting it on the ground? Give me a break. It doesn't even make sense in a real logic. because he would be giving life to somebody, but apparently, see, here, now I get it. Okay, now I get the symbolism. He was supposed to bring forth life, okay, by virtue of the loss that had occurred. And that represents the priesthood, because their job is to bring forth life with truth. And instead, spilt the seed on the ground, okay? Spilt the seed on the ground, and therefore would not bring forth life in the honorable tradition that was afforded to him, and therefore bred wickedness, right? Bred wickedness. Okay, so I'm seeing it like for the first time. It feels, and so what did so he did so what he did, however, was wicked in the eyes of Yahweh, and therefore he caused him to die. So there's the before we even get to the rest of the story, I've already got the parallel. That which is false is bringing us a storyline, but it doesn't give life because it's incomplete. It's not true totally. It's part true, but not true totally, because the truth is not a part of any lie. So therefore it's incomplete, and Yeshua brings us the completion, the fulfillment. So then Judah said to Thamar, return as a widow to your father's house until Shelah, that's the healing root. There's the symbol of Yeshua, the third of the three, right? And also symbolic of the third age, the age before the flood, the age after the flood, up until the end of the world, which was when Yeshua came, as it says, and I showed you in Hebrews 9:26, King James. At the end of the world, Yeshua came to deliver mankind, called the end of the world. So the world ended at that time, and it was a new golden age of light, and therefore all other people are disassociated from the royal house, the kingdom of heaven, because only those who separate themselves from the corruption and put on the white robe of purity and will do all things to serve the great Father of light then can enter in. So she went to her father's house until Shelah, my son, grows up, for he reflected, perhaps she may also kill him. Well, as if she did it, right? I mean, she's just the house. She was just going to be the accommodator, and it was his sons, and he's blaming her. Also, kill him like his brothers. That perhaps she may also kill him like his brothers. Therefore, Thamar went and returned to her father's house. But time went on, and Bathsheba, the wife of Judah, died. That's the first Shua, and Shelah represents the last Shua, the first and the last, because she was married to Judah, and Judah grieved for her and went up with Hariah, the Adulamite, his partner, to shear the sheep at Timnah. And it was reported to Thamar that her father-in-law was going up to Timnah to shear his sheep. So she put off her widow's, it literally says here, widow's weeds, weeds, but I don't know what to make of that. So first, I don't even remember reading it. I got to highlight it here. But her widow's garments, obviously, weeds, interesting terminology. And she concealed herself in her veil and went down and sat at the opening by the wells, for which are on the road to Timnah. Remember, she's going to be bringing forth the royal seed, right? And look at what she's doing. She's setting up to play the harlot, and yet she's going to bring forth the royal seed, that which is false and under the mask of a guise is bringing forth the baby. Okay, here it comes. Let's see this. And at the appointed time by the wells, which are on the road to Timnah, for she saw that Shelah was grown up, and he was not given to her as a husband. And Judah saw her, and he thought she was a harlot, and for he had hidden her, or for she had hidden her face, so he turned from the road to her, excuse me, and said, "Come on, go with me," for he did not know that she was his daughter-in-law. Then she asked, "What will you give me if I go with you?" And he replied, "I will give you a kid of the goats or sheep." And she replied, "If you give me a pledge that you will send them." And he replied, "What is the pledge that I shall give you?" And she answered, "I want your ring and the staff that is in your hand." And so he gave them to her. and he went with her, and she conceived by him. Then she rose up and went and put her veil from off her, and dressed herself on her widow's weeds. But Judah sent the kid and the goats by the hand of the partner, the Adulamite, who was to receive the pledges back from the hand of the woman, and he could not find her, and therefore inquired of the men of the place, asking, "Where's the whore of the wells by this road?" But they replied, "There is no whore by there." And he returned to Judah and reported, "I cannot find her." And the men of the place said, "There was not a whore there." And Judah therefore said, "You have taken it to her, therefore I cannot be abused." Actually says abused, but I noted it as accused by her falsely, for I sent the kid, but you could not find her. But 3 months after, it was reported to Judah, "Your daughter-in-law Tamar has prostituted herself, and she is also with seed from her fornication." And Judah replied, "Bring her here and let's burn her." I can't get over these attitudes back then. They brought her when she produced the ring and walking stick. She produced it at the same time and said, "By the man that these tokens belong to, am I with seed?" And she continued, "To whom belongs this ring with this seal and this staff?" And Judah replied and said, "You are more virtuous than I am, for I did not give you Shelah, my son." That's the healing root. "I did not give you the healing root, my son." For he therefore proceeded no further to examine her. When, however, the time for her delivery came, there were twins in her belly. There's the duality again. The twins, you see, it's the duality, the light and the darkness. And that's what it's telling in the story. So she brings forth the duality because of the dual nature of this theme that started at the beginning of the chapter all the way through. And there were twins in her belly, and it happened in her laboring that one put out. Now here's another, another profound part of the story, that one put out his hand first. So the midwife took it and tied a scarlet thread upon the hand, remarking, "This came out first." But then it occurred that he drew back the hand, and then his brother was produced first. When she said, "What? Have you broken? Or have you struggled?" Yeah, see, you broke, but I have it notated. I transliterate that to struggled. "What? Have you struggled?" And that's the more correct translation. I know it. And because there's the battle going on. It's about the battle, right? The duality. We're struggling. We're struggling to know the truth, to overcome all the darkness that's oppressing us. They poisoned our water. They poisoned our food. They poisoned our air. They're poisoning our minds. They're poisoning our children. They poison everything. The priesthood, it's a priesthood at the top. "The breach be upon yourself." Therefore she called his name Phares. And there's the word, the one who's fighting is called Phares. Well, you can see right in there the elements of the word Pharaoh, but also Pharisees. The Pharisees, so it's this negative terminology, which PH at the front of it means creator, and therefore it implies the false creators. And that's what the Masons pride themselves in, as being creators. But you know what? They serve Shiva and Krishna, and they're actually both the creators and the destroyers, right? And that's the symbolism outside of CERN in Switzerland, right? Shiva is stepping on a baby, claimed to be the bringer of light, and steps on the baby at the same time. You see. So the symbols, as Confucius said, signs and symbols rule the world, and they're telling the story, and that just simply words and laws are just secondary in order to signs and symbols, because it don't matter what people say. Look at what it looks like. Look at the symbolism. Look at the action. Look at the picture. So and then afterwards his brother was born, whose hand on his hand was the scarlet thread, and they called his name Zara, and Zara literally means seed. Okay, you can change the lettering into an O, and you would get 0, meaning the first, a beginning of the count. The 0 is the beginning of the count, but it is the Ouroboros eating its tail, the serpent eating its tail, because it's cycle. It's about, and that it's about the infinite. And so he pulled out his arm first. He gets the scarlet thread, the symbol of royalty, okay, and also of blood, and then he pulls back. So that which is first is like that which is last, and that which is last came last is just like that which is first. You gotta read the symbolism, ladies and gentlemen. So there you go. Okay, it is a profound story, and I'm just overwhelmed. I never hear anybody teaching on these things, and yet it is the essence of the story. That's the real story, not the top story, but it's the inner story. So going on now to symbolism. And by the way, you can call in, and for our new listeners as well, just to clarify. And Leah Wilson, you live in Cambridge, Ohio. No kidding. I'm over here in Central Ohio. I don't know. I'm new to the area, so I don't know where Cambridge is, but I'm in Amish country over here in the hill country. So south of Worcester. Okay, so I need that book again. We're going to do symbolism. I'm going to give you an example. And welcome. Okay, glad to have you. And so let's go into the book of Psalms 104 if you want to follow. I started reading, I read a psalm every day till I'm working through it again with Fenton. Then I'm going to read Proverbs, one a day. And then all of a sudden it was like, okay, I read this one. So I stopped with the first stanza because I couldn't get over. It was actually confirming what I was saying, okay, with the throne of the sun, okay, because the nature is speaking. And so here we go. Again, it's Psalm 104 if you want to follow, and you can compare how different the Fenton is, but I just make a minor, with certain words, I make minor modification for getting with the original. So that's the only difference. Okay, so let my soul amplify Yavohe. Let my soul amplify Yavohe. So where it says bless, we can't, that's the original is endow and enlighten. So I realized that bless in this instance meant amplify. Let my soul amplify Yavohe. How great you are, Yavohe, who is the great Elohim. In splendid beauty of light, you are clothed. So you see, in splendid beauty of light, and it's going to continue on that thought. In splendid beauty of light, you are clothed. The light envelops you like a cloak. Okay? The light envelops you. You get the picture, throne of the sun? The light envelops you like a clothing. The spirit, it's enveloping the spirit. And the skies flow out like a veil. Okay? And he constructed his tent on the ethers, meaning up there in the sky. His tent is up there. It's again a reflection on the sun. And the clouds for his chariot he did form. The chariot again is the sun. You see, it's all metaphor. On the wings of the wind he proceeds his couriers, which are the storms. His agents are flames of fire. Now that could be Malachim, his literally, his followers, who are the royal flaming swords of fire, the Malachim, or the navigators. He fixed the earth on natural law, unchanged throughout all time. What cataclysms his robe concealed? And that's talking about on earth, right? Because we look at all the cataclysms and how the nature has changed, right? And look at the Grand Canyon, look at the arches in Utah. We can see how old this world is just by looking at certain geological formations, and these are expressive of former cataclysms that had occurred, which have been well proven out by science. And the seas overwhelmed the hills. At your commands they flee, and your And so the seas overwhelmed the hills. That's what it's talking about. Excuse me, the cataclysms. At your commands, they fled away. At your loud voice, they rushed. Okay, and that's just a little sample. I wanted to just get a good picture of the Psalms in the metaphor like that, and so that was a perfect example, just in time, for the broadcast. I've got to turn that fan up a little bit. It's getting or get my air conditioner on. It's getting hot. Hang on, be right back. Glad you tuned in to the RealPublicRadio.net, Free America Radio Network. I'm Desert Owl. You did tell your friends, right? I'll be right back. Okay, thank you. I'm back, friends, and I know that makes bad radio, but we are the Real Public Radio, so I guess we can get away with it here, and we're all friends here, so we all get the picture. So, just glad to be here. That's all I can say, but I can't wait to get out of here. And good morning, Star. Good to have you. Hadn't seen you in a while. And so one more on symbolism, okay? Then we're going to get to just a couple words that kill. Then we'll get with the program. All right. So I'm trying to help people get the picture of the how I read symbolism, because it is oh, and there's an example right there. The word Anna means harvest. Okay, Anna means harvest, and it's a perfect anagram. And see, that's where the word anagram comes from, because anagram means the harvest of words. Gram for grammar. The harvest of words, anagram. Okay, so notice you can read it from the left to the right, and it's the same word, so it's a perfect anagram. But if we would put two O's in the middle and make the A's silent, because they are a variable of both a vowel and a consonant, you can turn it on, turn it off. We can turn the word Anna into noon, and we can pull the A's right in there because they are synonymous with zero, because the compass, the capital A, is a compass, and therefore it makes a circle at the bottom, and therefore those two A's can just jump in the middle in the anagram, in the picture of an anagram, and create noon, which, well, what does high noon mean? It means perfect judgment. It means the best ability to see most clearly, because the sun is at its apex. Okay, so thank you, Star. That was perfect timing. Okay, so I've got a cough. I'm going to mute out for a second. Hang on. I'll tell you what, they say getting old ain't for sissies. I gotta agree. But I'm hanging in there. I'm taking all the healthy stuff I can muster up. So okay, so we're talking about the word staff, and you can write these words down as I do it, because it will help you to get the picture while I'm talking. But basically, staff is a real cyber code here. It's interesting because staff has two F's, but the F's would always represent a PH, because the F is a code of a corrupt code of the PH. That's how they play the game, ladies and gentlemen. That priesthood, those wonderful priests having a party and a feast. So really, staff is two words, and it is so this is an abbreviated word. As you know, I say they abbreviate them, and it is star fe. Well, there's star right there again, star fe. And so we got Star Wilson and we got Star Faye. How about that? So Star Faye, all right, you've heard me talk about the Faye. That's the in the primordial sense, the virgin woman of creation, the virgin mother that brought forth life. Matter is female, matter is mother, and so is motor. Motor is mother. Okay, and just write it down and look at it. You'll see it. That's you can't miss it. Mo is the prime root of mother. So anything with mo, like mountain, You know, the mountains are the highest aspect of the mother. You know, but anyway, continuing here. So star Fe, and so if we're so in other words, it represents the sun, right? And so the royal Malak or the king always had a scepter, right? And so the scepter, and there's the word seven, all right? There's the word seven, sceptor, the power of seven. Oh, see, you got to read the word correctly. The power of seven. And what is the power of seven? It's the power of the sun. Because when I was going to just give you the interpretation of star Fe, well, what is the star Fe? It's the sun. And so staff and scepter are synonymous in the symbolism, okay? And it is a symbol of virtue. So the staff, when we see, one of the navigators misnomered as a prophet carrying his staff, or the shepherd carrying his staff, or Yeshua in his dream that we'll be reading about coming up, not today, but very quickly in the original gospel. He had a dream that he had a staff in his hand, a powerful dream, and it is the symbol of virtue. Okay, so the staff and the scepter are the symbols of virtue, and virtue is synonymous with the word power. So if you have virtue, meaning you're living pure, you've got power with the one who made all things. He wants to hear you because he recognizes you and your sacrifice and not being willing to do the things that everybody else is involved with that is contrary to his truth. And so your virtue then creates a position of power with him. He hears you and he will respond to you. But if you were, not, adhering to the word and just having a party, doing your own thing, well, then you'll have no power because you have no virtue. Okay? So the staff of virtue, a perfect symbol, ladies and gentlemen. Now we're into words that kill. I think I just got two different words here. So I want to give you an example of the power of how the smallest parent root of words, the smallest words are really the most powerful. That which is small it has a dynamic, okay? And just like I pointed out that the smallest symbol of them all, the period, the smallest is actually the most powerful. Why? Because you put a period at the end of a sentence, it stops everything. It stops the thought. It stops the train. The train stops. So what they did, is they had to totally mess us up, even though those of us who are older didn't have outcome-based education. It basically was. They never told us what the outcome was going to be, that we'd be dumber than a doornail, and that then we'd have to get on with our life and try to figure out the mess they made for us and how they scrambled our brains. And so the Bill of Rights, okay? First of all, a Bill of Rights is not the law off the gate, right out of the title, because if you know about a bill is something that can be passed into a law. A bill is not the law. A bill is to be passed into law. It's a program that's written and sent on into Congress and hope that it'll take effect. And it could be rejected. So a bill is not the law. Therefore, the Bill of Rights is a phony legislation of what they're calling laws. The most appropriate title would be the natural laws of rights, because we don't need them to legislate anything regarding our natural right for defense or for free speech or any of that. But they figure if they can give us something, right? If they can give us something, then they can take it away, right? If we give them the power to give us something, I don't want nothing from them, right? Nothing. They can't give me anything. I don't want it, because they're liars, they're cheaters, they're beaters. They're just serpents. They are the serpent cult. But anyway, so to give you an example, I just told you now about the title of the entire document that shows it's worthless on its face. Let's go to the second article. They even call it what? The amendments. No, the first 10 were not amendments. They say it and it's not true. They are articles. The first 10 are articles. Then after that came the amendments. But you see how everybody's so dumbed down and they don't even know what they're saying when they're talking. So let's go to the right to bear arms. Okay. Well, you could take that one right into the courtroom and say, because they arrested you because you had a weapon and you didn't have a license, and say, Judge, look I've got the right to bear arms. Okay. and he'll look at you, he'll nod his head, and he'll agree with you, and then he'll say, 1 year in jail. Wait a minute, Judge, you just agreed with me. I did agree with you. Now get to jail. Get out of here, slave. Okay, so what was going on? Well, the teachers figured it out around the turn of the century, 120 years ago. They saw it happen. The teachers knew, but of course they didn't have a voice, so they didn't get to tell anybody. But some of them ultimately did, in some of those freedom movements I used to go to. And so guess what, ladies and gentlemen? You can say I got the right to bear arms all day long, and it don't matter, because the right to bear arms, that two-letter word T-O means in the future, not present moment. So it means somewhere down the road I got the right to bear arms, right? Well, not today, buddy. Not today. So the right to bear arms therefore never comes, because it's always in the future. It's like saying, I'm going to the store. You're going to the store. Well, you're not there yet. Let me know when you get there. Okay, so you see how they tricked us? The way it should read, friends, is I've got the right for bearing arms. For bearing arms. It's now, present, immediate. You see, so it's in the words. You lied, to yourself when you said I got the right to bear arms, or else you're stupid, one or the other, because it's the right for bearing arms. You know what I'm saying? I'm not labeling anybody here, but I'm just getting excited. It's amazing. It's amazing the tricks that they played on us. It's in the words, right? It's all in the words. It's the word game, and we've got to be, either the words will dominate us, or we dominate the words, and we were supposed to dominate the words. Okay, but then there could be one more problem with this statement, because the right to bear arms may simply mean you've got the right to roll up your sleeves and show your forearm, right? It's all about interpretation. So maybe it should be I've got the right for bearing weapons, or for carrying weapons, armaments, So it's so vague. You see the trick? It's word trickery. It's occultic. I'm going to show you the fraud right on the face of the Declaration of Independence coming real soon, okay? That it was written and they put their code right there in your face. Nobody gets it. And what they're saying is we're giving you something, but we're taking it back, okay? And that'll be, it's on my radio network. I can't remember what page you find the document there, but there's a code, big code right in your face. These tricksters are so cool, So we had... I don't remember who it was yesterday. It may have been Anna in Finland. I could be asking me about the Magi, and therefore I just wanted to make one more statement. Then we're going to get on with our read in the history of the church, and it's a short read. Then we go into the original gospel for our new listeners. So just so you know what we do here. But the word Magi is a corruption, and they spell it with the M-A-J, like magic. The J don't belong there, so it's a G. But literally, the literal sense is the mother's royal eye of the sun. And when you spell it correctly, you can see it. So it would be like M-A-G-A-Y. A-Y is the original word for the eye. The G is the symbol of the sun. And the M-A is the mother, Ma. And so Magay, it'd be pronounced Magay, but also it could possibly... on the very beginning, be M-A-Y, and then we could put apostrophe G-A-Y. So it could be Megay. Megay might be the original way, to pronounce the Magi. It is all a fraud. That's right, Star. The whole world is just one big lie. It's bad enough being in the matrix of nature, because we're already in dense matter, right? Having to work our way into the spirit. And then, to get back home and to identify with their spirituality, but then to find out that the people are the problem, being in this world was bad enough to have to transcend, than to have a bunch of people lying to you all the time and wanting to drink your blood and kill you. Go to the front line, fight my war, slave. And there's no legitimate wars unless somebody invades your house or invades your land. And you're doing battle right there on your front line, on your house, and in your neighborhood. then then you're obviously going over there somewhere else, harming other people, which we have no right to trespass on other people. I'm not sure of, well, anyway, I don't want to digress here. Okay, so Megay means the center of the eye, and there you go. You've got the words that kill. They put the mud in your eye when you got that mortar, when you graduated from school, and you got that mortar board, that square on your head, which is a Masonic mortar board, which they use for laying for blocks, cinder blocks, and cement. So the mortar board's on your head, and what they use the mortar board for, they put the cement on the mortar board or the mud on the mortar board, and then they put it real quick in your eyes, so you got mud in your eyes, so you couldn't see when you graduated from school, and you put that Masonic mortar board on your head. They played the trick on you, didn't they? I'm glad I didn't graduate. I escaped. I said, boy, I know these people. They don't like me. They're just wasting my time, and I'm out of here. And so I just got on with my enlightenment, not education, because that's what they were offering me, and I didn't want anything else removed from my brain, so I got away from education. So here we are, ladies and gentlemen, in the book of Eusebius, the history of the church. I've read this thing, several times at least, and I realize it's got so much relevant truth in here that all somebody would have to do is pick up the book and find out these documentaries are lying to you. But nobody picks up the book, and none of those theological seminarians are going to tell you, because they're getting paid to lie to you. I can't get over what it would be like to be a paid liar. I do this. I don't get paid to do this. I got to tell the truth, and I got a bunch of people that want to beat me up, So it's rather a contrast. There's that duality again. So we're in section 6 on the first chapter. We're at the extinction of the native Judean dynasty. Herod, the first foreign king. Okay, so let me take a sip of my brew here. Hang on. Did I get about that information? 608-566-7295 if you want to call in, or Skype, Free America Radio. Free America Radio. You can also do an instant messenger with your comment or question, and it'll make it easier for me to find, because I'm not always looking at the chat room. But also, if you have a question for our new friends coming in, I request that you consider putting the word question in all capital letters with a colon or a question mark after it, and then when you write out your question, just use upper and lower case. But if I see the big word question in all capital letters, I've been seeing it. Okay, I don't miss it, and I'm glad you're all tuned in. Truth always meets resistance. Well, that's for sure. That's for sure. And at this time, Herod became the first foreigner to be king over the Judean nation, fulfilling the words of Moshe El. And there will be wanting a ruler from Judah, nor a leader sprung from his loins, until he come for whom it is reserved. So there's the switch out again, right? So not even the ruler of Judah now is of the lineage of Israel, right? They've got what was he? He was a Edomite, right? He's an Edomite, and he is now in charge of Judah, right? And so this beautiful prediction from Moshe El for the future says, so not even a leader is sprung out. There will not be wanting a ruler from Judah, nor a leader sprung from his loins, until he comes whom it is reserved, and that's Yeshua. And that what scripture would that have been? 5 here. Genesis 49:10. 49:10. Genesis 49:10. If I read that right. Wait a minute, Moses? Okay. Well, I'm thinking it should have been possibly Exodus, but we'll check it out if you're interested. So continuing here, Moses adds that he will be the expectation of the commoners. Okay, this Moshiach who's coming will be the hope and expectation of all the common people. That's really the better word than Gentiles. I never liked that word, Gentiles. It sounds like genitals, but also, in other words, they're of the lower chakras, but also that, um, well, like when I say ladies and gentlemen, well, there's the word Gentile right there, ladies and Gentiles. Okay. So commoners would really be appropriate. They sometimes translate that as nation, but I like commoners because the nations are all the common people. Israel considered itself to be of a select lineage, the vine on the tree, as I talked about yesterday. So there could be no fulfillment. Let me just back up again. Moshe El adds that he will be the expectation of the commoners. There could be no fulfillment of the prediction as long as they were free to live under the rulers of their own race. That's true. So they fell into slavery, and they got what they deserved. Beginning with Moshe El himself and continuing to Augustus's reign. And in his time, the first foreigner, Herod, was entrusted by the Romans with the government of the Judeans. Josephus informs us that he was an Idumean, on his father's side, and an Arab on his mother's. But according to Africanus, he was no ordinary historian. The best authorities say that Antipater, the Antife, meaning he was against Israel, against the woman, against Judah. Herod's father was a son of a certain Herod of Ascalon, one of the temple slaves of Apollo. This Antipater was taken prisoner by Idumean bandits when a child and remained in their hands because his father was too poor to put down his ransom. He was brought up in their ways and later befriended by Hyrcanus, the Judean high priest. His son was the Herod of our Savior's time. When a man of such antecedents came to be the royal Malek, the king of the Judeans, at the door already, in accordance with the prophecy, the prediction was the expectation of the commoners. For with him, the succession from Moshe El of the Judean rulers and governors came to an end. It was over for both tribes now. They're gone. Just a memory. Everything is a facade. Before their captivity and removal to Babylon, they were ruled by royal Maleks, Saul, Shaul, and David being the first. Before the royal Maleks, the kings, the government was in the hands of the rulers known as the judges, the Yudke, who came, and it means they had the keys of fire, the keys of the star, as of the throne of the sun, who came to the fore after Moshe El Moses and his successor Yeshua. After the return from Babylon, they maintained continuously an aristocratic and oligarchic constitution. That's the wealthy constitution. Priests and being in complete control. So the priests are in the control. I think there was a battle between them and the wealthy. This lasted till Pompey, the Roman commander, arrived and besieged Jerusalem with the uttermost vigor. He defiled the holy places, going right. Well, he couldn't have done worse than when they set up a whorehouse in the temple of Yahweh and were making curtains for all the shrines around the land, right? But anyway, he defiled the holy places, going right into the innermost sanctuary of the temple. The man who had continued the succession of his ancestors till that time was both the royal Malek and the high priest. And the reason, for those of you who didn't hear me yesterday, the reason I use royal Malek is because it is the original. It means the royal voice of the Fae, or the mother, Remember, they were following, Israel was following the woman, not the father. Yeshua introduced them to the father. So the voice of the mother, the virgin light in that sense, okay? And the moon also represented the female as well, and then became corrupted into Lucifer. Okay, so the Fae was the Virgin Mother. That was sort of like the secret name, but then Elohim in the singular is Elaheh, and it means the enlightened breath. So all of these words, why don't they give us these words? They don't want us to have these words, the Shavor, because they know that we can wake up to the deeper meanings of these things. So Aristobulus by name, he dispatched. Okay, let me back up here. So he had continued the succession of the ancestors till the time, and was both royal Malik, that is king, and high Amenkolnun, priest. Aristobulus by name, he dispatched as a prisoner to Rome together with his children to Hyrcanus. Aristobulus' brother, he transferred the high priesthood, and he made the whole Judean nation from then on tributary to Rome. As soon as Hyrcanus, the last to whom fell the high priestly succession, was taken prisoner by the Parthians, Herod, as I have said, was the first foreigner to be entrusted by the Roman Senate and the Emperor Augustus with the Judean nation. It was without question in his time that the advent of the Mashiach occurred, and the that is Christ, occurred, and the expected salvation, that soul novation, that creating the new stars that followed him, and called of the commoners followed at once. And the expectation, salvation, and calling of the commoners, the Gentiles, followed at once in accordance with the prophecy, that is prediction. As soon as the rulers and leaders from Judah, those of the Judean stock, came to an end, not surprisingly, the high priesthood, which had passed in regular succession, generation by generation, was plundered into immediate confusion. And of course, the official ending of that was when Yochanan, John the Baptist, had his head cut off. He was, he was son of Zechariah, the high priest, and Yochanan, his son, had his head cut off, and that officially ended the royal priesthood of Judah. So the priesthood, even though it became corrupted for the most part, outlasted the other tribes themselves in that sense, at least according to lineage. So for this too, you have a reliable witness in Josephus, who informs us that when entrusted with the kingdom or the royal domain of the Roman Herod, by the Roman Herod, Eusebius is not a good writer, and they're missing commas and stuff here, and it makes it hard to read. So Josephus, who informs us that when entrusted with the kingdom by the Romans, Herod no longer appointed high priests of the ancient stock, but assigned the office to non-entities, and that a policy similar to Herod's regarding the appointments of priests was adopted. By his son Archelaus, and that Archelaus was the one that confronted Yeshua, and after him by the Romans when they took over the government of Judah. The same writer informs us that Herod actually locked up the sacred vestment of the high Amen Kolnun priest and kept it under his own seal, no longer permitting the high priest, the Amen Kolnun, to have charge of it. His example was followed by his successor, Archelaus, and after him by the Romans. This evidence I have put forward as proof that in the appearing of our Savior, Yeshua Moshiach, that is Jesus the Christ, another prophecy was fulfilled. It is perfectly clear in Daniel's scripture, he specifies the exact number of weeks till the rule of the Mashiach. I have dealt with the subject elsewhere, and predictions that after the completion of these weeks, the anointing of the Judeans will be brought to an end. And there can be no doubt that at the time of the birth of our Savior, Yeshua the Mashiach, Jesus the Christ, this prophecy was fulfilled. In order to establish the truth of the date, it was necessary to make these preliminary points. And tomorrow we'll be into 7, the alleged discrepancy in the Gospels as to the Mashiach's genealogy. And nobody talks about that one either. And there's no conflict. That's the beauty behind the truth. There is no conflict. It's just that somebody lost the message of the story, or they listen to the propaganda, and sometimes it's hard to know which one. But here we go, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm grateful for all of you today, and I know that all of you love life. You're all on another level. You're coming from somewhere, and most of you are sky watchers in this broadcast as well. I found you all out there looking up and seeing what was going on, and for some of you, I think it was the sky that brought you together, or or some of you actually woke up a while back. Everyone has a different story, but the truth is we know what's going on, don't we? And it's not pretty, and it's a real tragedy for our world. So let me find my page here. I'm a little discombobulated. Here we go. Okay, yeah, I've got so many notes in my original gospel that it's I've read this book now about 35 times. I can't read it enough because it is the original. It is the original gospel, okay? And after you hear it, you'll know that. For those of you who are new, I have to give out the thank you for the presentation again. Well, thank you, Anna. I hope you enjoyed learning about the meaning of your first name. Okay, so that's one of the most beautiful names you can ask for, next to Star. I'm not really sure which one would be better, Star or Anna, but they're both profoundly significant, And so let me not lose my train of thought. Okay, so I wanted to, for our new listeners, if you want to follow along in the reading here, you can go to therealpublicradio.net. I know you got to get your pen. I'll give it a second time. therealpublicradio.net/original_ and then gospel and then .html. So therealpublicradio.net/original_ then the word gospel.html. Okay, and that's on the my radio network's website. And just scroll to the bottom. You'll see the PDF download from that link, a free PDF download, the entire document. It doesn't have the introduction, and I'm glad it doesn't because it's worthless. The introduction is a cover, trying to cover the fact, detract from the fact that this is the original that either came out of the basement of the Vatican or the Library of Sophia in Constantinople, Turkey. So we're in section 3 now, and this is where we get to the wisdom literature. This is my favorite stuff. And Gimel. So we're with the education of Mare and Elisabeth in Zoan. And so Mare, along with Elisabeth and Yosef, they escaped to Mitzrayim, Egypt, to Zoan, right near the Great Pyramid that was built by Yahweh before the flood, the remnant, the monument that they couldn't miss. So they're going somewhere familiar, that all of the tribe of Israel knew that the Great Pyramid was built by their Yahweh, the great Elohim. All right, and this is the best kept secret on earth, next to some of the other ones I share with you. It's just amazing, the cover of what they've done to us, ladies and gentlemen. So yes, and Hannah, well, the H is the breath. So you got the breath on both sides, and Hannah, and that's spice. Okay, that's just icing on the cake. The breath, the breath of life. In the harvest. Okay, the great harvest. So so there they are now. They're in a safe zone near the Nile Delta, and so it says here that the son of Herod, Archelaus, reigned in Jerusalem, and he was a selfish and cruel king, and he put to death all of those who did not honor him, or probably agree with him either, I would think. And he called in council all the wisest men and asked about the infant claimant to the throne. Didn't I read this yesterday? Wait a minute, what's going on here? No, it's just like a recap. Okay. And he asked about the claimant to his throne, but the council said that Yochanan and Yeshua were both dead. And then he was satisfied, and they all wiped the sweat from their brows. And now Volshaf, Joseph, Mary, and their seed went down into Mitzrayim, misnomered as Egypt, in Zoan. And Yochanan was with his mother in the Judean hills, still hiding. So Elihu and Shalome sent messengers very quickly to find Elishabeth and Yochanan, and they found them, and then they escorted them to Zoan. Now Mare and Elishabeth were marveling greatly because of their deliverance from the hands of Herod. And interesting thing about the word Herod, if you realize the H's of the word the, and then you see it's the word, two words, the erode, and so you see the word erosion. Literally in the word Herod is the word erosion. I just find that rather interesting. So Elihu breathed regarding this deliverance. It is not strange. There are no chance happenings or events. Natural law governs all events. Now, just to clarify, Elihu and Shalome are also of the Hebrew tradition, and there was a culture, a Hebrew culture in Mitzrayim, okay? During the time of Ptolemy, 300 BC, there was a vast society of the Hebrews living in Mitzrayim / Egypt. And it was Ptolemy because he wanted to get a Greek version of the sacred scriptures that he commissioned 72 priests. This is where we get the first translation out of the Hebrew into the Greek, known as the 70, the Septuagint. He commissioned 72 priests out of the tribes to come and to the Alexandria and to give them the transliteration. It's in the lost books of the Bible, by the way, and the forgotten books of Eden. A beautiful story and how they did the translation. And then the king has a feast and he asks questions to all the different scribes and to hear the wisdom. It's beautiful. It shows that they were a profoundly intellectual culture. But so even one of the Ptolemies, who was this was the line after Alexander the Great died and the kingdom was split between 4 generals. Ptolemies took over Alexandria. And so he was so, for the library, so adamant that he had to have a copy of the Hebrew scriptures that he said, I will free all of the Hebrew slaves in Mitzrayim. And so he literally paid for the freedom of all the slaves in Mitzrayim, Egypt, which was something like approximately 150,000. Okay, 150,000 of them. So major story. And then we got the Septuagint, and even in the introduction to the Septuagint, it talks down about its own book, the Septuagint, like saying, well, you really don't want to read this book because it's not worth very much, and you're not going to get any truth out of it, And so as soon as I saw it was doing that, then I made the point to start reading the Septuagint, and guess what? They're lying. Okay, they wanted to deflect us from reading the Septuagint. They're hiding the code in the Septuagint. And it's interesting because all we hear about is Canaanites, but in the Septuagint we find out the Canaanites, they switched out the word and put in Phoenicians. And that was when I recognized that the Phoenicians and the Canaanites were indeed the same, So it's quite a journey to, go under all these rocks in the river of life and find all these treasures, ladies and gentlemen, but we got to do it. So continuing on here, there's no chance events. The natural law governs all events. And so from ancient time, that implies, you were all meant to be here too, by the way, okay? So, and me too. So from ancient time, it was ordained that you should be with us and in the chakra school and be plowed and planted pure seed to be taught. Elihu and Shalome took Mare and Elishabeth out to the chakra grove nearby where they were often wanting to teach. And Elihu And by the way, I do transliterate when I read into the original thought because I need to practice it. And at the same time, I want you to hear it. So that's why if you're following, and you can also click on that book on that website and take you to Amazon, you can get the hard copy. But, so if you follow along, you'll see how I'm transliterating at the same time. And if you have a question about any of this, how do you get that, Desert? Or, tell me about this word, or, I'm happy to take your call. Okay. I'm here to serve. And we're all in this together. And we need to know, the deeper mysteries. So Elihu and said to Mare and to Elizabeth, you may esteem yourselves 3 times baruch, endowed and enlightened, for you are chosen mothers of long-promised sons, who are ordained to lay in solid rock a sure foundation stone on which the temple of the perfect blood of the earth, the perfect man, must rest, a temple that will never be destroyed. We measure time in the cycle of ages, and the gate to every age we deem a completed milestone in the journey of the race of mankind. An age has passed. The gate unto another age is now flying open at the touch of time. This is the preparation for the age of the mind and the soul, the royal domain of Emmanuel, the great Father of light who comes to see us, the great Elohim within blood of the earth, man. And these, your seed, will be the first to tell the perfect news and to proclaim the star message of the perfect action towards all blood of the earth, perfect will, and the shalom of eternal peace on earth. A mighty work is theirs to perform, for earthly men do not want the light. They love the darkness. And when the light shines in the darkness, they do not comprehend it. We call these sons the revealers of the light, but they must have the light before they can reveal the light. They must be the light. And you must seed plant within your sons and set their souls on fire with the pure love of the only true anointed, pure zeal, and make them conscious of their missions to the seed of the moon, the Son of Man. Seed plant within them that the great Elohim and Yahweh and blood of the earth were one at one time, but that through the carnal thoughts and the word, the burning swords of fire, the shavors, and poor action, blood of the earth tore himself away from Yahweh, who is the great Elohim, and debased himself. Seed plant that the only true anointed pure great breath of light on the wind and wings of fire, the holy breath, can remake them again, restoring harmony and the shalom of eternal peace. Rebreath meaning repentance. That's the repentance means to rebreath, the breath of a star. That nothing can make them one but the divine love. That the great Elohim, who so loved the world, so loves the world, present tense, that he has clothed his son in the garment of flesh, that he may comprehend the only Savior of the world is love. And Yeshua, the seed of Mary, the son of Mary, comes to manifest that divine love before blood of the earth. Now, love cannot be revealed until its way has been prepared, and nothing can break the rocks and bring down lofty hills and fill the valleys up and thus prepare the way but purity. That's where we were talking about the word virtue earlier. Virtue is power, and so purity here again is the key element, which is synonymous with virtue. But purity and life, blood of the earth, do not comprehend. And so it too must come in the form of flesh so they can see it. And you, Elizabeth, are Baruch, endowed and enlightened with the mind's eye for seeing in the night, because your seed is purity, made flesh, and he will pave the way for this divine love. The age will comprehend but little of the walk and work of purity and love, but not a burning sword of fire, a shavor, is to be lost. For in the book of Yahweh's great remembrance, a registry is made of every thought and word and action. And I'm not sure if the sense of the book of Yahweh's remembrance is literally the book of your mind, ladies and gentlemen. It very possibly, in that sense, could be the metaphor of the book of God's remembrance, Yahweh's remembrance. And when the world is ready to receive it is truth throughout all time, Yahweh, the great Elohim, does send the messenger to open up the book and copy from its sacred pages all the messages of purity and divine love. And then every blood of the earth will read the burning swords of Shavor, the words of life, in the tongue of his own native land. And the blood of the earth will see the light and walk in the light and be the light. And blood of the earth once again will be one with Yahweh, who is the great Elohim. And I think I'll stop it right there, ladies and gentlemen. That is chapter 7 in the original gospel, the best kept secret on earth. They always hide everything in front of us. Do you know that? Like, when they're going to come and do the next trick, they always tell everybody. But if you can't read it, see and read it for yourself, you don't get the picture. But they always put it right in front of us. And it's just an enigma. So that's another reason they want to laugh all the way to the bank, because we don't get it. The divine love prevails. Well, absolutely, Anna. That's the love is actually dominant. It looks passive, but that's part of the great mystery. And so we overcome by being contrary to the world. Just where it says to love your enemies. Give him a glass of water. Doesn't mean you like what he does, but you give him a glass of water if you see him thirsty. So because we're not alone, and because Yahweh is eyes wide shut, right? Because Yahweh is with us. Therefore, if we perform the action before these people, whether enemy or whoever, then Yahweh moves. We plant the seed, he moves. So he relies on us for the positive action, with a pure heart and pure mind, and with virtue. And so it is a struggle to overcome the self. And what I really, tomorrow, you don't want to miss it unless you got a copy, you can read it on your own. But tomorrow is going to talk about the self. Was Elihu. This is like my favorite part, because Elihu starts the teaching, and then I believe it's the next one up, and he says to study yourself. He says, if you ask me what to study, I would tell you to study yourself. And then after you were done studying yourself, and then you would ask me what to study next, I'd tell you, study yourself. Okay? Because you know how the way the people are, right? They can always see everybody else's faults, but the only thing they don't ever get the picture of is that they got the wrong focus, that we have to focus on our own self. And by transforming ourselves and finding the completion and truly being redeemed from this earth, then we're in a position to actually help somebody. We can't be in this, the mote in our eye, that big beam, because it's in your eye, it's a beam, and then help somebody else when the beam is still in our eye. So the focus is on self, and then we don't judge anybody else. We don't condemn anyone, right? Because Yeshua said, I come not to condemn the world. That's the correct word. It's not about judging. It's about condemning. We're not here to condemn the world. We're here to save the world. That's what he said. And so we make judgment about right and wrong, and if we can apply it for ourselves, and then we become the example, then we can help somebody else. So, but we're not here to condemn anybody. We want to love them to the light by proper order and proper seed planting. The seed planting, that's the Shavor. Seed planting is the Savior. Shavor is the first and latter rain. The Shavor, and that is the Savior. And That is the word, ladies and gentlemen. So you got it here. Thank you, Diane. Much love to you too, and prayers for Lynn's family. Absolutely, um, her brother-in-law needs a prayer. So everybody, I just thank you for tuning in today. Thank you for all your kind thoughts, and be safe out there. Know that it's very dangerous to be in the sun anymore, and so always use your cover, sunglasses, protection, and um, and just don't forget. We're on every morning at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. I always get it wrong. 8 p.m. Eastern Time in the evening, 9 a.m. every morning. Okay, on the realpublicradio.net. And so just don't forget, if you want to know the future, just look for the Forbidden History. I'm Desert Owl, thanking you for tuning in. Peace and love, all. Be safe. Thank you, Star.